Hello friends, welcome to Live Traveling. Today we'll see
Mazatlán Mexico Complete Travel Guide. Things to do. Mazatlán, a coastal city in Sinaloa. Mazatlán has been a honeypot for foreign tourists since the stars of Hollywood's golden age came down for fishing trips and to socialize on Plaza Machado. Mazatlán dates back a century before and was planned by a Filipino banker who made his fortune from the pearl trade. Most tourists will stay in the modern Zona Dorada, Golden Zone, where there's a luxury marina and high-rise beachfront condos. Or you might prefer the Centro Histórico, first laid out in the 1830s and blessed with the prettiest sights. Both are linked by the long Malecón promenade and settled by healthy communities of retired American and Canadian expats. Mazatlán also has a younger crowd, drawn to the raucous night spots and surf breaks that are worthy of international competition. 1. Centro Histórico. Most of Mazatlán National Historic Landmark buildings are in the Centro Histórico, the quarter developed in the 1820s and 1830s. In that time, Mazatlán grew from a village on a swampy river estuary to the largest port on Mexico's Pacific coast and the capital of Sinaloa. One of the trademarks of Old Mazatlán is its pulmonias, golf cart-style taxis with awnings that zip around its streets. The quarter had fallen on hard times by the 1980s but has been spruced up since the 2000s, and its painted neoclassical houses have been restored to its 19th century glory. You'll keep returning to this charming part of the city for meals, street food, the shrimp tacos and tamales are a treat, souvenir shopping and to browse art galleries. The neighborhood turns into one large outdoor stage in June for the Dia de la Música, when diversity of free concerts takes place. 2. Plaza Machado. Named for its financier, the Filipino pearl diving entrepreneur Juan Nepomuceno Machado, Plaza Machado was plotted on swampy ground in 1837. The square is the most picturesque site in the Centro Histórico, with rows of palms and hardwood trees, formal flower beds and an elegant wrought iron bandstand at its center. Take a few minutes to admire the houses fronting the square, painted in earthy tones, and consider the diverse characters that have visited this spot over the last 180 years. There were 49ers during the California Gold Rush of 1849, Hollywood actors in the 1930s and 40s, and the faded soprano Ángela Peralta, who passed away at this place in 1883. According to legend, she gave one last aria from her balcony before succumbing to yellow fever. 3. Malecón. One of the world's longest waterfront promenades, the Malecón stretches for 8.5 kilometers from the Golden Zone down to the Centro Histórico. The southern starting point is a monument for Pedro Infante, the Mazatlán-born actor and singer. On this palm-lined route there are quirky works of public art, street food vendors, beaches and an abundance of bars, clubs and restaurants. An integral part of any night out on the Malecón is watching the sun go down. There are some craggy sections, and at the Glorieta Rodolfo Sanchez Taboada Park near the southern end you can witness the spectacle of people diving from a rock 20 meters high into water just a few meters deep. February/March is when the Malecón is given over to all the fun and craziness of the carnival. For Faro Lighthouse, the Cerro Creston is the large rock at the end of an isthmus on the west side of the harbor entrance. The summit has been used for navigation since 1828 with the construction of a primitive beacon. This was replaced by a true lighthouse in 1879, still manned today after several modifications and with a range of 30 nautical miles. And while this building merits a peek, it's the view from the Cerro Creston that makes the tricky hike to the top worthwhile. The lighthouse is 160 meters above sea level and you have to power up more than 350 steps to get there. Once you catch your breath, you'll be treated to panoramas of the Centro Histórico, the harbor, the Isla de la Piedra to the east and the Piedras Blancas outcrops in the water to the west. 5. Immaculate Conception Cathedral. Built over nearly 45 years up to 1899, Mazatlán's cathedral is an opulent monument with hints of neo-Baroque, neoclassical and neo-Gothic architecture. The south-facing main facade has a portico-cum-arcade with elongated multifoil arches, stones arranged in an eye-catching diagonal pattern and sculpted images of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John in niches. The three-naved interior is richly adorned, boasting the largest chandelier in Mexico, hanging from the Renaissance-style main dome. Check out the 28 stained glass windows, each adorned with a Star of David as a show of thanks to an affluent local Jewish family that helped fund construction. The main Baroque-style altar is highly theatrical, carved from white Carrara marble and with a depiction of the Last Supper. 6. Ángela Peralta Theater. One of the great monuments of the Centro Histórico, the Ángela Peralta Theater was begun in 1869 at the request of the local businessman Manuel Rubio. At that time Mazatlán was the capital of Sinaloa and needed a performance venue to match. The theater was completed in 1874, and in 1883 it was due to host Ángela Peralta, the famous soprano. She disembarked in the city to huge fanfare, but died only 3 days later from a sudden yellow fever epidemic, which claimed 76 out of 80 members of her troupe. The theater fell into disrepair after a hurricane in 1975, but was fully restored in 1992. Visit this sumptuous venue for a guided tour to hear about the theater's difficult construction and the events of 1883, or delight in some classical music, ballet or opera in the evenings. 7. Playa Olas Altas. Translating to high waves, this small golden bay is right on the Centro Histórico and is traced by the Malecón. True to its name, Playa Olas Altas has some intense surf, attracting bodyboarders and surfers. As the place where tourism took hold in the mid-20th century, it's fun to think that John Wayne or Gary Cooper would have trodden these sands some 70 years ago. Wayne, Rudolph Valentino, Gregory Peck and Rock Hudson all stayed at the Hotel Belmar backing the beach. In the morning you can see the fishermen come in on their pongas and sell their catch direct to restaurants, while in the evening the sunsets at this west-facing beach are as romantic as they come. 8. Mazatlán Aquarium. The only standalone aquarium on Mexico's Pacific coast, this attraction has more than 50 tanks showing off the species that inhabit the Pacific next to Sinaloa, as well as freshwater life from tropical regions worldwide. There are over 250 species, including sea turtles, sharks, octopuses, piranhas, clownfish, eels and mudskippers that can breathe out of the water and use their fins as legs. The marquee tanks are the Oceanic Fish Tank, holding almost 2 million liters, and the Stingray Pool containing 6 different stingray species. The aquarium also has an extensive outdoor environment, with an aviary and botanical garden. Under the branches of a magnificent elephant ear tree you can watch birds of prey take flight. 9. Isla de la Piedra. Water taxis will carry you from Mazatlán's portboard across the channel to Isla de la Piedra, Stone Island, for $30 pesos per round trip. Less developed, this is more of a peninsula than an island, and is fronted by a long coarse sandy beach about 200 meters from the dock. On the west side, closest to Mazatlán, the beach is backed by a string of restaurants, some of which are proper sit-down establishments and others casual palapas, palm huts, depending on what you fancy. Many of the restaurants have their own sun loungers and beach chairs, which come with the price of a meal. You can also go on a catamaran excursion to tour the mangroves in the channel and explore caves once used by pirates on the coast. 10. Las Labradas. In the Cacaxtla Plateau Wildlife Reserve around 40 kilometers north of Mazatlán is one of the oldest traces of culture in northern Mexico. Las Labradas are hundreds of glyphs carved on volcanic rocks on the beach, a sight with no equivalent in the Americas. These stones date between 2000 BC and 300 AD, depicting humans, plants, animals and geometric shapes, and some of the patterns show highly sophisticated workmanship. Go with a guide who will explain the meaning of these mysterious carvings and the lives of the people who made them. There's also a small interpretation center attached for more context.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe.